Welcome to Perfect-ish, where it's not about having perfect time management, but about perfecting your relationship with time. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and every week we'll talk all things time and how to maximize it without burnout or guilt. Whether we're chatting with an expert or I'm sharing my 20 years of time management experience, you'll learn simple strategies to make every moment count. Here, it's all about getting close to perfect-ish. So let's synchronize our watches and dive in. Hi, friend. Have you ever heard a simple little idea that totally changes your perspective on something? So much so that you think, all right, that was almost too simple, and why didn't I think of that? Yeah, me too. And this happened to me a couple of episodes ago with my friend Barb Betts. We were talking about making time for relationships. We were talking about how to go from procrastination to prioritization, all of those things, which are, of course, so valuable. And then at the end, she just dropped this truth bomb on me that if you watch on YouTube, you probably could see my face. I had a major aha moment. And not only did that just strike me, but I decided that I was going to start to deep dive into it. Number one. Number two, I decided I was going to start using this idea and this concept with my clients, with my team, with myself. And number three, I decided that it was so good that I was going to not only do an episode on it, obviously, here we go. I'm going to do 2 episodes on it. I think this is a 2-parter. So you're thinking, wait, what was it that Barb said that was so impactful? Okay. Well, let's talk about it. And as we do, I just want to ask you this question because first of all, let me just clarify, we are perfect-ish. So welcome, friend, to perfect-ish. We definitely know that the ish can sometimes way take over the perfect part. So here's the question for you. Perhaps you are juggling everything, if you want to use that word, your work, your family, your friendships, the never-ending list of to-dos. You go to bed. The question's coming. You go to bed wiped out, but somehow it feels like you're still not getting ahead. Does that sound familiar? Or let me put it this way. Your days are so full, they're so packed, they're so busy, you're doing stuff. It also, though, seems like you really don't even have time for sleep. You're not lazy. You're not vegging out watching Netflix, but at the same time, you still feel like it's not enough. Okay, anybody out there? What I want to talk to you about is the trap of busy versus productive. That was the key little phrase that pays that Barb said that just stopped me in my tracks. I like to call this the let me put it this way. The hustle mirage. That's sort of what I have put my little label on it. The hustle mirage. Busy versus productive. You know what a mirage is, right? From far away, it looks like it's something. And then when you get up close, you realize that's not what it was at all, right? You think, I guess I was out of my mind. Crazy because I thought it was this oasis in the desert and it was nothing but a big rock. The reason I call it a hustle mirage is busy not only isn't better, but busy doesn't equal productive. And I think so many times we think of those, we see those, we talk about those as if they are interchangeable, and they are not. So let's talk what this means. First of all, I'm going to give you some stats. Remember, I said I decided to take a little deep dive in here. So let's talk about what busy can look like. Studies show that the average person spends over 2 hours a day on social media. Okay. And guess what? They waste another 21 minutes a day. That might not sound like that much when you think about it in a day, but just wait. 21 minutes a day looking for lost items. Over a week span, that is more than 15 hours of time that we are either looking busy, thinking that we're busy, acting busy, but we're not being productive. Those are 15 hours that we could have spent moving our life forward. I don't know if you're like me, but I get so irritated. Speaking of these statistics, I get so irritated when my phone likes to tell me how many hours I have been on it or have been online. Or I'm like, seriously, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm doing on my phone. I'm making a reel for my social media. I'm doing some research. I am interacting with a friend. I'm like, you don't know me. It's kind of like I had an Apple Watch and I wouldn't wear it when I was working out because I just didn't. I don't know, when I'm working out and I'm like sweating and stuff, I just didn't like having it on my wrist, which I know is funny because a lot of people, that's literally why they wear it, to monitor their exercise. And I'm sort of the opposite. So I would not wear it while I was working out. And then later I would put it on and my Apple Watch would send me a notification like, you might want to move your body a little bit. I'm like, back up. If you don't know me, if you only knew me. Okay. In other words, I don't know that I like to get called out on it. But I'm going to call myself out on it, and I'm going to call us out. I'm going to call you out on it today. Because what I want you to consider is what I'm talking about is not working harder or doing more. Because frankly, you probably don't need to work harder. You probably don't need to do more. What you do need to do is decipher the difference for yourself and maybe for other people too between being busy and being productive. So I mentioned that they are maybe a mirage. They can look the same. It's kind of like when I have you write down on a piece of paper the letters PERFECT. Write it twice. One on one side of the paper, one on the other side of the paper. One of them looks exactly like the other, doesn't it? But if I sound them out, one could be perfect and one could be perfect. Do you see how they are looking alike, but they're not? That's the same thing between busy and productive. One of the stories that Barb talks about is that she can have friends that say to her, wow, based on what I see in your life, oh my goodness, you're so busy. You're always working. And she laughs and says, I'm not busy. I'm productive. What that means is what you see me doing is very, very intentional. That's what she's showing in her stories. That's what she's showing on her social media. Maybe that's what they're seeing when they're contacting her during the day and she has another obligation or she's explaining what her day was looking like. She said, but what you don't see is that because I've been so productive during the day that I am done for the day. I think, what she say, 5 or 6 o'clock, her husband's making dinner. She chills on the couch, has a glass of wine. The rest of the night, that's it. She says what you don't see is because she's so productive during the week that she might take a whole Saturday just for Netflix or brunch with a friend or that kind of thing. I love that concept that we can decide which one we want more of in our life. Do we want just the busyness or do we want the productivity? Don't you like that difference? One of the things that I find that I have kind of settled into my routine, I suppose, is that I love to be productive Monday morning through Friday around noon. And then do you know what I, love to do? I love to unplug my router Friday at noon. I love to keep it unplugged all the way to Monday morning. So, yes, on the outside looking in, does it look like I'm a busy person? I am. But what you may not recognize is that what others might consider busy, I consider productive. So here's what we're going to do on these next 2 episodes. We've got part 1, we've got part 2. I want to really kind of treat you and these podcast episodes like you are my personal client. All right. You're going to take a little course with me, and this is free. How do you like that? So, we're going to do a little workshopping as if I am your coach and you are my client. That's why I want to split it up into 2 parts. We're going to dive into the ABCs of productive time and energy management. So, this is going to be a powerful but simple framework to help you reclaim this time, reduce this guilt, start living with intention. Are you with me? Okay, before we get into the A, which is the only letter we're going to cover here in episode 1, I want you to understand again this productivity myth. I already mentioned that it's not about working harder or doing more. And the productivity culture tricks us into believing that this busyness is the same thing as being effective. So I really want to emphasize the difference between the two. And I think at this point, you're like, okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. But remember that the busy leads to burnout, but productive leads to progress. I cannot define this more for you in your mind. Even if up until this point, some of the activities are going to look the same, I think the mind shift is going to be so freeing. What we want to avoid is paying the price of busy. What is the price of busy? What is the cost of busy? Physical exhaustion, mental burnout, guilt from feeling like you're still falling short. I do not want you to go to bed thinking that you fell short today. That is not a good feeling. It does not set you up for a great day the next day. So we're going to give ourselves grace, but we're also going to be very focused on what this can look like. You know, we don't want a busy day that leaves you feeling unfulfilled. My mom calls those kinds of days spinning your wheels. Have you ever seen a car spinning their wheels? I have. I live on Pensacola Beach. We are an island, and we are an island on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and we have a lot of sand. And a lot of people like to come out to the beach. And when they come out to the beach, especially if they're not local, if they're not parking in kind of a parking area or a parking lot to go to the beach, they tend to park along the sides of the road that are sandy. They're just that because that's what we have. We don't have soil, we have sand. So they park along the side of the road in the sand. What they don't realize is the softness of the sand, and they have set themselves up for a catastrophe. So, a lot of times, I love to do a late Saturday or late Sunday afternoon run. And while the sun is setting, or Sunday night, the blues are flying over. And this is the time that most people that have been at the beach all day are getting ready to leave. Well, they've had a great day at the beach. They walk out to their car, they get in their car, they turn it on, and they try to move their car. All of a sudden their wheels start moving, but they start digging themselves into the sand. So the wheels are turning, and they're turning fast, and now they're turning faster and faster. And I'll run past and I'll see this start to happen. Usually I don't say anything right away because I'm going to see if they'll figure it out. But if on my way back, I see them still spinning their wheels, okay, there's movement, you can hear the engine revving, all of that, I will finally yell out to them, put something under the tires. They've got to have some traction. So they need, whether it's a beach towel or a floor mat or something, right? And as a matter of fact, now that my son has just turned 16, I told him that a good summer job would be just to drive up and down the beach on Saturday and Sunday afternoon. And people that are stuck, he can say, hey, Venmo me $20 and I will pull you out. Because that's also one of the ways you need somebody. This is a life lesson right here. You need somebody sometimes to pull you out. That's what a day looks like and feels like. When you're doing things, you're active. Again, you're not sitting on the couch, you're not napping all day, but you are going nowhere. And boy, does that get frustrating. I've seen couples start to yell at each other. I've seen it go all kinds of sideways. So let's start with the letter A for the ABCs of this productive time and energy management. A is simply awareness. Here is the key question for awareness. Do you even know where your time is going? Do you even know where your time is going? Your action step, I want you to go to the show notes. And if you don't already have the brain drain, I want you to go ahead and download that, especially looking at the last page, which is the weekly plan sheet. Your action step is, if you are super, super brave and courageous and you're just ready for crying out loud for a change, like a major change here, I want you to do a time audit for an entire week. Yes, from the time that you hear this episode to the time that the next episode airs, I want you to be tracking your activity. Every 30 minutes is preferable. An hour is the minimum, but best is every 30 minutes. All right, so that's if you're feeling like super ambitious. For once and for all, we're going to knock this out 1 week. Now, if you are, by the way, I have done this before for 4 whole weeks, an entire month, and I'll tell you why in a second. If you're like, there's just no way, Callie, there is just no way. Okay, I'm going to challenge you to do it for 2 to 3 days. At the very least, 1 day, but usually 1 day is not enough for a baseline. So this is your time audit. 1 week is preferable, couple days the least. Try to do more than 1 day. You're tracking your activity. You might have to set an alarm on your phone. I don't know where you need to put it. Put it somewhere. Put it by the refrigerator. Put it in on the kitchen counter. Put it in the bathroom. You're going to track your activity every 30 minutes, not what you want to do, but what you just did. Now, here's the thing. You have to be honest. Remember how we say here that we are scientists, not judges? You have to be honest. There's no point in doing this if you're not going to be honest with each other, or you're going to fake it. Like, okay, I know I have to write it down, therefore I'm not. No, this is just for you to see and for me to kind of know through the airwaves. I can't really read you through the airwaves, but I do know what normally happens, okay? Because I'm human too, and I have human clients. But tracking this, what's going to happen is it's very similar to a food diary. Have you ever done one of those? Okay, me too. They're awful, aren't they? All right, so you download your Fitness Pal or whatever, and you're like, why can't I get rid of these last 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever? It's just so frustrating. I'm eating so healthy. I'm eating salads. And all of a sudden, you actually have to document it, and you have to be real. You're like, well, maybe that handful of chocolate chips, but maybe while I was eating that, ice cream, it was out of the carton. It wasn't even in a bowl. So it really didn't count, did it? Maybe I was helping myself to my kids' leftovers mac and cheese. I'm telling you, I never make myself a bowl of mac and cheese, but I sure dip that spoon in after they've gotten theirs. It tastes so good, especially when it's really hot. But if you haven't written it down, then it's easy to pretend like you're doing all the right things. And this is going to just be a reality check. It's not just a reality check, though, to try to make you feel bad. That's not the point whatsoever. Awareness is not about that. Awareness is helping you look for patterns. So once you've done it, I want you to look for patterns. You may even, I have my clients do this, you may even want to color code it. So you're looking for like things. As you look for patterns, what are time wasters? What are activities that feel draining? What are things on your list that you absolutely have no control over? Okay, so you can put those in, you can recognize that. The awareness also has to do with starting to understand how we have a tendency to underestimate and overestimate how long things take. A lot of times we underestimate how long we are doing things like scrolling on social media, watching something on TV. Again, some of the time wasters looking for things, getting ready to get ready to do something. And then oftentimes on the flip side, we overestimate the amount of time that we're doing or we think that we should be doing tasks that we don't want to do. That's where procrastination comes in, right? Like, I don't really want to clean the kitchen. I was just talking with a client like this. I don't really want to clean the kitchen because I'm going to have to block out 2 hours. When in reality, she realizes that, man, 15-minute sweep of the kitchen, and she can really knock out most of it. So understanding where we underestimate, understanding where we overestimate. So I had a client say that when she first did this, she realized that she was spending, are you ready? She was being honest, and I appreciate that. She was spending 45 minutes scrolling Instagram between tasks without even realizing. It was almost like she was giving herself a little treat. Okay, which is fine. I love to give myself treats. But it was when I'm done with this, then I'm going to scroll Instagram. What she did not realize was that she was doing that for 45 minutes. That is 5 hours a week. 45 minutes at a time is like that handful of chocolate chips. No big deal. But when it's a handful of chocolate chips followed by another handful of chocolate chips and another handful, and I hate the serving size thing on there, right? All of a sudden, 5 hours a week, wow, that is 20 hours a month. 20 hours a month. That is almost a full day. I always love to also tell the story of one of my clients who did this, who was always 20 minutes late. I mean, habitually. And she didn't want to be, and she's not a bad person, and she doesn't not care about people. But what she realized when she did her time audit, oh my word, she thought it took her 40 minutes to get ready in the morning. She could have sworn her whole entire adult life, 40 minutes. Guess how long it took her? 60. Guess where the remaining 20 minutes? Right there. Now, she really had an important question to ask herself. She had a decision to make. And this is sort of where we're going to land the plane for A. The decision was, what was she going to do about it? And I know that might sound simple. Well, she really had a couple choices. One was she could streamline her getting ready in the morning to 40 minutes to match what she thought it was. So maybe she's going to shower at night, or maybe she's going to, I don't know, do her mascara in the car, which you really shouldn't do. But she could make that as decision number one. Or she could make decision number two, which is, I really like having 60 minutes. It allows me to listen to a great podcast. It makes me not feel rushed. So therefore, she's going to put in her schedule 60 minutes to get ready. It's decision time. No one else can make that decision but you can't make that decision until you know where the time is going. So here we go. Awareness is our time audit, preferably for a week. Who's up for the challenge? At the very least, 2 to 3 days. Once we do that, now we're looking for patterns. Now we're looking for time wasters. Now we're looking maybe for areas that we're like, man, I am really efficient in that area. We're also looking for energy matching. We're looking for, you know what? I tend to really be great at getting things done from 6 in the morning to 9, and then everything falls apart. Or I am the kind of person where it's like nothing's happening all day. And then bam, I realize, oh my word, the kids are coming home from school or my husband's coming home from work. And those last 2 hours, I can knock out everything. We're going to understand patterns. We're going to understand energy. We're going to understand underestimating, overestimating the amount of time. And then what we get to do is we start to get to declutter our calendar. We get to identify and eliminate low value commitments. We get to realize that, you know what, this would be better served at a different time. This would be better served in a different season. This would be better served if somebody else does this. And here's how I want to finish this up. Once you do that, you cannot do this last, most super important thing, activity, question, whatever, until you've done your time audit. You have to pinky promise you cannot do this until you've done that. But once you have, and you're looking out this bird's eye view of your week, I want you to look at the calendar and I want you to say, is my calendar, my schedule, my week, is it reflective of who I say I want to be or what I say I want? Is it reflective of that? If I say that I want to be the kind of woman who prioritizes my family or prioritizes my career or when I look, would somebody else say, yep, that woman really prioritizes her family. Yep, that woman really prioritizes her health. Yes, that woman really prioritizes her faith. Or again, in your business, if you are in business, you have a business, would you be able to say, is my week reflective of what I say my goal is? Without question, yes or no. If you look at your week and you go, yep, everyone would know this is her number one priority, or this is her top 3 priorities at a glance, great. We're going to make a few small little tweaks in the next episode where we're going to go over the B and C of the ABCs. Friend, if you take a look and you go, wow, I am so out of whack. I have been so reactive. I've been so busy that at the end of the day, no, this is not reflective of who I say I want to be or what I say I want. It is okay. Today is the new day for you. Today is the new day where we go and we face reality. We're not going to have that hustle mirage. We're not going to fall for the busy trap, but instead, we're going to take ownership, we're going to take back some control, and we're going to focus and we're going to prioritize being productive and those priorities. Are you with me? Okay. Next episode, we're going to finish up the ABCs. But in order to do that, let's get that time audit. And just like anything else, we are not looking for perfect. We're just looking for perfect-ish. That's where the progress is made. All right, I'll talk to you next time. God bless. Thanks for tuning in to the Perfect-ish Time Management Podcast. Let's keep the fun going. Follow me on social and join our Facebook community. And if you're ready for some one-on-one time management coaching to reach the top of your game without burnout or guilt, I'd love to chat. Book a free interest call using the link in the show notes or send me a DM. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review and share it with a friend who's ready to master their time too. Remember, we're in this together, making real progress towards becoming perfect-ish.